Hey everybody, TacticAngel here, back on the PlayStation 4, playing some World of Warships Legends, and as I promised, I'm going to give you a couple of updates in terms of where I'm at in the Altlanta campaign, what's going on with the Altlanta campaign, what's going on that might help you finish the Altlanta campaign, and then a little housekeeping update is in terms of the channel and that sort of stuff. So first of all, starting with the Altlanta campaign, you can see here I am sitting pretty at 1,250 renown out of whatever it is that I need, something close to 2,000. So I was able to beat the 150,000 damage mark and then go on to get a Kraken. So that's all stuff thankfully behind me. If you are trying to do that 150,000 points of damage thing, I would highly suggest probably a higher tier British battleship, and then also not sailing around in the back of the map, because if that's how people think they're going to get 150,000 damage, they're probably mistaken, because you're going to have to be in range of a few things in order to do damage. So what I actually did was use a King George V. I shot a lot of high explosives. I tried to make sure to set multiple targets on fire when I could. That constant burning damage was what contributed to me getting over 150,000 damage. And then again, like I said, I do have 1,250. You will notice that's actually higher than you're supposed to be able to have at this point. The weekly Havoc missions only grant you 225 renown if you finish them all, and then of course the campaign long missions could grant you as much as 650. So the max I should have was 1,100. But something happened. Last week there were a lot of denial of service attacks on the Wargaming servers. That meant that they had to reset the server in some way that also reset the progress in Weekly Havoc. So if you were lucky and in the Sunday or Monday time period you finished any of the Weekly Havoc missions, you got to do them over again this week. That'll help you get maybe a little bit of a buffer, so maybe you don't have to quite finish everything. Maybe that changes the math in terms of whether or not you want to buy the Altlanta. Certainly it might change whether or not I do my Altlanta review a week early or not. So something to maybe look forward to, but there we are, level 51. In terms of something that might actually help you get the Altlanta, you have this challenge accepted operation. Now this challenge accepted operation was described as giving you 3 weekends and 10 weekdays in order to finish, so I assume that it'll go through this weekend, the next weekend, and finish up on the following weekend. That said, I'm not super pleased with this because the amount of time this is going to require the average player to put in is fairly high. When I look at this as a person who plays a lot, I'm not even sure how close I'll come to finishing it. Obviously, I'm going to give it my best shot, but I wasn't sure if they were going to dole out little bits of gold here and there, and then a bigger reward if you finished everything. As it turns out, it's kind of the worst case scenario where you're only going to get the 2,500 doubloons, which is the same amount of doubloons you need in order to get Admiralty backing if you complete the whole thing. Okay, so what are these missions? On the bright side, these missions are all cumulative. So we have willpower missions and we have elbow grease. And the damage, the hits, the kills, anything that you need in order to complete these is over any number of games. Now, the problem is the any number of games is just a ton of games it's going to take you to actually finish this. So willpower, we start with cause 1 million hit points of damage, and you have to do it in a tier 5 or higher ship. That's doable, but even if you play really well consistently, it's going to take you at least 10 games. It's probably going to take the average person at least 20 games. But after you get past that, you have to win 15 battles. Figure the average person's going to have to play about 30 battles because the average person's going to lose about half the games they play. After that, you have to cause 100,000 hit points and damage to ships by setting fire. I don't actually think this one's too bad. If you're in tier 5 through 7 ships, there are certainly plenty of ways to cause fire, and those ships have a lot of hit points. This one's actually not all that terrible. It starts to get a little bit harder when you're looking at hitting a citadel of a ship 20 times, causing 20 fires, and then doing 20 torpedo hits too. Because you're going to have to probably split these things up, because most of the destroyers that will be able to set fire to things and hit things with torpedoes won't be able to citadel much, and most of the things that are going to be citadeling things aren't going to have a lot of torpedoes. They certainly could if they're like Japanese cruisers, but this one's going to take some time. I was a little not extremely happy to see this. And then finally, earn 6 million credits. That's going to take some doing. You certainly can. The minimum number of games I figure probably would take a really good player about 12 games to earn 6 million credits in a premium tier 6 ship, but who knows. Moving on, we're going to go into elbow grease. I think these are actually generally harder. So earn 40,000 experience before bonuses. And I'm a little bit scorned by this because if you buy premium, I assume that means the premium bonus doesn't count. Also, your times and a half for the first completion of the day isn't going to factor into that. So you're getting 40,000 experience the hard way, as they calculate it. Not super happy with that. Usually they at least reward people who purchase premium on these sorts of ops, at least when you're looking at things like World of Tanks. So yeah, it stings just a little bit. Stage 2, we're looking at elbow grease. Cause 300,000 hit points of damage with ship torpedoes. Now, as a person who likes to use their guns more than torpedoes, I have no idea how long that's going to take you to do, but it's certainly not an insignificant amount of damage to do specifically with torpedoes. Stage 3, hit enemy ships 1,500 times with the main battery. I don't see you being able to complete this without at least playing cruisers, but most likely you're going to want to try to hit people with destroyer guns, because you can get into situations where you can get 100 main battery hits with like a Mayhan or above. A lightning even could probably do it, but that's a lot of main battery hits, certainly if you're a battleship player and that's all you got. Man, waiting 20, 30, 40 seconds between shots and hitting 1,500 times, there's just not enough time. Elbow grease number 4. In 20 battles, join the top 3 in your team by experience received. This is going to be very much subject to how relatively good you are compared to your team. So for some people, placing in the top 3 is probably fairly tricky. For others, this is going to be 20 to 30 battles at most. Still, 20, 30 battles is a lot of battles, and that's on top of everything else. Now, the willpower and the elbow grease are going on at the same time, but I'm not seeing a lot of strong synergies in terms of you'll be definitely working on one of these versus the other, and that those accumulate quickly. Then finally, we're looking at elbow grease stage 5, destroy 30 enemy ships. Probably one of the more straightforward things to do. I have no idea how long that will take you personally. Um, you know, it could be 5, 6 games. It could be well over 30. So um, there's another pretty good amount of time. And basically, I would describe this entire series as a significant time sink. Um, it's hard to complain about it in the global sense because you're getting these doubloons for free. So, you know, if you really want to spend the time, there they are. If you don't, then don't. But I personally would have preferred if it was a little bit more incremental, so that, you know, they would give you 100 per completion, and then if you completed the whole thing, they give you 1,500 more or something like that. On the other hand, one of the nice things is if you finish this, you're going to get 18 basic containers. You're going to get basically 2 of every camo. You're going to basically get 2 of all of the advanced flags. You're going to get 2 days of premium, and you're going to get some promotion orders and the doubloons. So that's pretty good. You're not risking anything here, right? If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. So take of it what you will. My impression is that this is going to be a little more than your casual player is going to be able to do, though. And finally, in terms of an update on the channel and where is your Indianapolis review, well, I haven't purchased the Indianapolis, and it's not because there's anything wrong with the ship. It's just the TacticAngel knows that it's not a good idea to buy all of these ships, and this is just one that I decided, you know, I don't have the time or the money for specifically right now. I am looking into possibilities of maybe reviewing it without purchasing it. If that's possible, I may have somebody do a guest game on my channel. I may have somebody send me a replay and I can do commentary over it. I don't know. I will try to give you guys a full review. If you want the really short version, this is a completely fine ship with very punchy guns. I would love to talk about it more. If you want to get something like this, it's certainly not a bad ship, particularly compared to the other things you're going to see at the level, like the New Orleans or, honestly, the Atlanta. So, anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this little update. Once again, I will keep you updated, and I should have some more videos coming out this weekend. Thank you for listening, or watching, I guess, and I'll see you guys on the next one.